questions.
All right, well, the majority of people who come to see me are losing their jobs, are about to lose their jobs, they've got the mandates. It all works in the same way, and I've spoken about this before. You get the survey, they generally mention they're considering a policy, then all of a sudden there's a couple of dates, you've got to have it. They either talk to you a bit or they don't, and then you get terminated. What we've been waiting for, and it's a difficult thing, we've been kicking the can down the road, down the road, down the road. And the reason we're doing this, and anyone who watched Novak's court case last week, anyone watch it? Right, I don't know if you took as much attention to it as I did, because I was listening for one thing. It went there on the basis that the Minister for Immigration, Alex Hawke, it wasn't that Novak had done anything illegal. You know this.
Yeah.
It was because, and it wasn't because he'd said anything, it was because the Minister for Immigration was concerned that Novak would be held up as a symbol by the anti-vaxxer community as part of anti-vax sentiment in this country and go against the government's policy of vaccination. Now, the interesting thing was in the case, and this is what I was listening for very, very closely, at not one point, you've got these senior judges, you've got senior counsel, you've got experienced lawyers, and they're all talking about the anti-vax sentiment. And at no point did anyone in that court case ask, not a judge, not a lawyer, not anyone. Nobody said, well, what does anti-vax mean? You're talking about anti-vax. What are you talking about? You people against all vaccines? People against vaccine mandates? What does it mean? They didn't ask because they didn't care. And this is what we're watching for, because we're looking at, we peaked with COVID on November 27, when the big rally was held in Sydney. It was all starting to go downhill from there, and you can see certain signs. For instance, Moderna and BioNTech, the two biggest vaccine manufacturers for the rollout, their share price dropped by 10% last week. Wall Street knows. They know what's going to happen. It's on the way out, and we can see it. We can see it with the change in rhetoric by Scott Morrison. We can see it with the change in rhetoric by Hazzard. We can see with them trying to buffer up the stats in New South Wales Health, with now actually describing what the comorbidities are for people who have died. They're describing the exact numbers of vaxxed, unvaxxed, the numbers of people in ICU. They're describing it because they're still trying to buffer their cause that they know is on the way out. And we watch for this closely. And this goes back to a story a friend of mine over there, Richard, pointed out to me last week. During World War II in France, the French resistance was very, very small. It was under 1% of people who actually did anything. People who actually stood up and fought against the Nazis. But when it became apparent that Germany was losing the war, 95% of all French citizens claimed to be in the resistance. This is base level psychology, and this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the decline of the oppression, the decline of the narrative. And as that happens, our group, you look around you, we're not overwhelming the park today, but let me assure you, we will flood over the hills in the months to come.
Yes, we will.
So I'll just be one more minute. We watch this closely because this is the attitude that infects the minds of the lawyers and the judges, and this affects our attack strategy for when we file. We roll the ball, and when we see the decline, when we see the change in consciousness, we drive in and protect those jobs. There's delays, there's time issues. If you want to talk to me about it, feel free, but that's basically what's happening.
Thank you for the update, PJ. Fantastic.